Good evening, everyone. If I could have your attention. The November 15th, 2022 Liquor Board hearing is now in session. As you know, the board has all meetings transcribed, which serve as minutes of the hearings. The board keeps such minutes stored electronically, and they're available to review by calling the board for an appointment. I now make a motion that the transcripts of the previous board hearing held on October 11, 2022, be accepted as board minutes for that date, and I ask for a second.
I second.
It is second and third. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. It's carried. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Praley for some announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. My name's Jimmy Praley. I serve as counsel to the board. Before every meeting, I make a few brief announcements. First, the commissioners before you are part-time public servants. They all have other outside interests. When they know they have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, they'll recuse themselves. However, due to the number of cases that are called at every meeting and the members of the public who may appear in support or in opposition of a license, it'd be impossible for each commissioner to know whether or not a conflict exists. So if you believe when your case is called that a commissioner or commissioners, as the case may be, has a conflict, you need to bring that to the board's attention, and we'll address it accordingly. If not, we'll proceed forward under the assumption that there is no conflict. Secondly, the rules of the board provide that the chair, for the purposes of administrative and judicial economy, can have counsel rule on the admissibility of evidence and objection if there are counsel present for any given hearing and objections are made. This will allow the board to expedite the hearing. So sometimes rather than the chairman turning to me advising the chairman, I'll simply make a ruling, and my ruling will be that of the board. Finally, we have the renewal season right around the corner, as has been customary for this board. The board is unable, and its administration, were unable to process and issue new licenses and renewals, new licenses and transfers between February 28th and May 1st, 2022. So if you are here for a new license or a transfer tonight, get your ducks in a row before February 28th, 2023. And with that, I will actually turn it back to the chairman tonight. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Praley. I have kind of a happy announcement to make. Our Operation Save conducted the operation on October 25th and 11/12. All of the places that they visited and had a confidential source in, everybody passed. So that's the first time that's happened. I think that's a little bit of good news in the county, and hopefully that we can continue that. So I will now turn the meeting over to Inspector Ford, who will call the first case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First case is Northway Liquors. Northway Liquors.
Thank you, Mr. Lyman.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to testify, please stand and raise your right hand. Gentlemen, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Detective James Mountcastle, Anne Arundel County Police.
Detective Thomas Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police.
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my name is Dixit D. Patel, and my address is 308 Lorry Drive, Apartment G, Glen Burnie 21061.
Thank you.
My name is Dharmendra Patel, owner of the Northway. My address is 7707 Lexington Court, Glen Burnie, MD 21061.
Thank you.
And good evening. My name is Brian Lyman, Lyman, 221 Duke of Gloucester Street, Annapolis, Maryland.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lyman. Detective Mountcastle, Detective Middleton, who's going to present the statement of facts? All right, Detective, go right ahead.
Good evening, Chairman and Board. This was an incident that happened on October 16th of 2022. approximately 2:50 in the afternoon. Detective Malhouse and myself were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks at retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 20 years of age, subject to enter the Northway Liquors located at 8101 Veterans Highway, located here in Millersville, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. I do have a certified copy through MBA that we checked to verify that our confidential source was indeed 20 years of age. We had the confidential source enter the business. The CS went into the store, picked out an 18-pack of Miller Lite beer, took it to the front counter. The confidential source was given official Anne Arundel County funds, was able to purchase the Miller Lite beer from the clerk. The clerk did not ask the CS for identification. The confidential source exited the business immediately, turned over the alcoholic beverage to myself and Detective Malcastle. I do know through my training, knowledge, and experience that Miller Lite beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Malcastle and myself entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk as Mr. Patel with his Republic of India passport. Mr. Patel advised he believed the CS was a regular customer, and that's why he did not ask for identification. A photograph was taken of Mr. Patel and his identification, also the Miller Lite beer. It was subsequently destroyed. Photograph was taken of Anne Arundel County liquor license, which was proudly displayed hanging on the wall. Mr. Patel advised that he has had formal alcohol awareness training. A copy of this report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, and that would be a statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Detective. Mr. Lyman, any questions?
Was the clerk cooperative and respectful in his interactions with the police?
Yes, very.
Okay. May I have a look at your confidential source
Yes, sir.
document from the NBA? Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lyman. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions? No questions. Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
All right, with no questions, Mr. Lyman, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. My clients are prepared to admit the violation here tonight and be heard in mitigation. And I'd be happy to explain, I think from Mr. Patel and other Mr. Patel's perspective, what happened. And it's not an excuse, it's simply an explanation for the board's enlightenment. This store is typically staffed with 2 clerks in the daytime. The layout of the tavern next to the liquor store area has a stock room which is on the other side of the tavern, which is all the way at the other end of the building. That's where the actual manager was during this incident. And Mr. Patel is a fairly new employee. He worked his way up from being a stock clerk initially, stocking non-alcoholic and then alcoholic beverages. He just began at the store, I believe, in midsummer, and has just recently been promoted to the registers. He made an error here tonight, or back on the 16th. The main error was that while he did sort of track this gentleman as he came in, he was a little flustered. There were several people in line. There were 4 other customers in the store, and there were 2 behind this gentleman in line. And he overrode the point of sale ID check that is installed in all the registers. There's 3 registers at the counter. And he was making an effort to try to move the line. As the detective indicated, he did believe he recognized the individual and did not check the ID. It's a mistake. He knows that he needs to do better. He's been reprimanded. I don't know the details of whether he's received any financial penalty, but I do believe that his hours may be impacted by this, and so he'll be able to make a lesser wage. Mr. Patel, the owner, is seated all the way to my left. He's disappointed to have to be here. We will confess that I do believe this is the 2nd violation inside of 18 months. The prior violation, I believe, was 15 months ago. And he takes this seriously. And this is a situation where he believes that this employee's got serious potential in the business, and more drastic, penalties or termination of employment are not appropriate for this particular employee at this time. Mr. Patel is sorry. I explained to him the seriousness of this offense. He understands the importance of carding underage individuals and in following the law. And he certainly does not take the privilege of handing out and selling alcohol lightly. Mr. Patel, is there anything else you'd like to add? Mr. Dharmendra?
No, but that's it. He had to take the serious job, you know. That's why I cut down a lot of hours of him, and he just stand and see how we deal with the customers. So, yep, we make him hard now. And very hard to find a new help these days, so, and he had a potential, so we training him very well again, you know.
And Mr. Dixit Patel, is there anything else you'd like to add to address the board?
I just want to say that I'm not going to repeat this thing again, and I'm feeling very regrets from that because I tried my best every time, and
You have to be careful, that's all.
I have to be careful next time
Every time, yeah.
and every time.
With that, I don't think we have anything else to offer in mitigation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lyman. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
I have no question other than to commend you on the fact that you have an ID checker installed.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
Questions?
Mr. Lyman, anything you want to add?
Nothing further. I just asked the board to possibly consider merging the counts if it's going to issue a penalty. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Mr. Chairman.
Well, basically seeing that we've got 2 violations within a pretty short period of time, I'm going to go ahead and impose a fine, and I will combine the 2, and the fine will be $700 plus court costs. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope not to be here again.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Calling our second case, Pfeiffer's Deli and Craft Beer House, Pfeiffer's Seafood, Inc., Catherine R. Pfeiffer, President, Richard Eden Pfeiffer, Jr., Secretary, Christopher E. Pfeiffer, Vice President, Joseph M. Smith, Clerk. The inspector is Roland Marshall. This is a Class B beer, wine, liquor, growler, and Sunday license located at 8894 Fort Smallwood Road, Suite 4, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Inspector Ford, before you get too far on that, will you guys waive the reading of the charges?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you. So please raise your right hand if you plan on testifying. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Agent Supervisor Jim Olenek with the Maryland Alcohol and Tobacco Commission.
Agent Chris Pavone with the Maryland Alcohol and Tobacco Commission.
Joseph Michael Smith, 913 Hillcrest Way, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060.
Catherine Pfeiffer, 8181 Orchard Point Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Olenek, I presume, are you the one who wrote the report here?
Agent Pavone wrote it.
Okay.
I signed it.
Well, I just like somebody, perfect. If somebody would just want to give us a synopsis and provide us the statement of the facts so that we have those in the record before we proceed forward.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go right ahead, thanks.
Board, this is, the investigation was in response to a report of, crowlers being sold on the Eastern Shore. In response to that investigation, on the August the 1st of this year, we responded to Pfeiffer Seafood located at 8894 Fort Smallwood Road, Suite 4 in Pasadena. Pfeiffer Seafood. Upon arrival, we met with the subject who identified himself to be the owner or the manager, Mr. Smith, Mr. Joseph Smith, who's seated here to my left. In speaking with Mr. Smith, he introduced himself to be the manager. He was aware that we were doing the investigation in reference to crowlers on the Eastern Shore. When asked, he did not deny that he did deliver the crowlers to the Eastern Shore and did not have a crowler license, but did have a growler license, which we advised was not permissible. There was a discussion about the difference between the crowlers and the growlers. We also were able to see that they had menus displayed advertising the crowlers for sale. We have photos of the crowlers that were on premises that did not have the alcohol content listed. They were sealed and for sale at the premises. What am I missing?
Members of the board, just so we're clear on this, Pfeiffer Seafood is a retailer. They're not permitted to sell outside of Anne Arundel County. They're not allowed to sell to another retailer. They were mixing these crowlers on premises at Pfeiffer Seafood. They don't have a rectifying license. And the importance of the labeling, these crowlers are 32-ounce containers of an alcoholic beverage. It doesn't say what the alcoholic beverage content is. Doesn't label it as an alcoholic beverage at all. So that means that little Johnny conceivably could walk in there, take one off the shelf, pay for it, and walk out the door. Additionally, we had them tested. We had one can tested, and it was 15.4 proof, 7.7% alcohol by volume. So it is an alcoholic beverage according to the law. In Anne Arundel County, you can only sell crowlers in beer. You can't sell it as a mixed spirit. I just want to make sure that we covered all the bases here. Mr. Smith was very cooperative when we were having our discussion. He admitted that he gave the people over at Vape Bird on the Eastern Shore an invoice. The invoice was from their store, not from the affiliated wholesaler. This was a very strange and complicated case because we also have a upcoming case against the wholesaler. But pretty much anything that could go wrong went wrong. They admitted that they mixed the stuff up right there, sealed it. It was available for sale without food. You could walk over to a cooler and grab it because the argument was that RTDs, ready to drinks, could be sold, but it also has to be sold with food. And that wasn't occurring. And that was, due to the COVID emergency order signed by Governor Hogan. But they were very cooperative, and we had a nice chat with them. We confiscated all their crowlers, told them they couldn't do it anymore.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
Yeah, you had mentioned mixed spirit. What were you talking about?
They were making orange crushes and other fruit-based mixed drinks,
Okay,
but they were spirit-based,
okay,
which is hard liquor.
okay. Are those the ones that were on the Eastern Shore?
Yes, and they were also in their establishment. They had them in a
Okay. In the cooler?
beverage cooler.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions?
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
You stated agency that they was doing all this about serving the food.
That's correct. We've got a copy of their menu, and it says you can order. I don't know if you have a copy of, but we're happy to show it to you. They've got a menu says, if you order 10, it's this price. If you order 30, it's this price.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Smith and Ms. Pfeiffer, this is your opportunity to ask the inspectors questions that you might have based on the recitation of facts. Give you the opportunity to present your case in mitigation in the future, but right now it's just your chance to ask any questions you may have. So we'll let you do so if you have any questions.
All right, so as you said that our menu says that you can buy 10, 20, 30. We're not denying that, not denying that at all. But it also says on our receipt that if you come over after being at a restaurant, having dinner, that's, you know, you can get a discount. We're not, it wasn't like it was, hey, don't go buy any food, just buy all these
And
crushes.
Mr. Smith, just
Then,
questions
as far as
only at this
questions,
point,
then-
okay?
Then we have no questions. We'll
Okay,
just
no
move on.
questions? All right. Well, with no questions now, I will let you go ahead and present your case in mitigation here. Go ahead and tell the board what's going on, whatever defense you may have to these
Thank you.
allegations.
Don't deny anything he's saying. I just think some of it's just being represented a little on the other side. So they asked us not to use a crowler. Richard, who was the one who started putting these in the crowler, is not here, which he was explained why he's not here. He was under the impression that it would be okay to put it in that container because everybody in the area was selling drinks to go because of COVID. No one ever said we couldn't sell drinks to go. In fact, the liquor board told us we could put it in a cup and sell it to go as long as there was food. We were unaware of that part. We just were putting them in, whoever wanted to buy them bought them. We were doing it. We're not denying that. When they said we couldn't do the crowler, we pulled all the crowler cans away. There has not been a crowler been sold since they told us. We went and bought these containers. I have a receipt showing we bought 1,000 of them. These were approved by the liquor board that we can sell the drink to go in this. So I'm not so much concerned about the charge against selling it to the other liquor store. That was something they shouldn't have done. But as far as us not being able to sell a drink to go, they're making it sound like that we can't do that, but we're told that we can do that. We just couldn't put it in that vessel. So if the problem is just the vessel, I apologize. We had the wrong vessel. But it's sounding like they're saying that we shouldn't have been able to sell those drinks at all. But we were told we can sell a drink to go. It just can't be in that vessel. So that's the first thing I wanted to clear. The second thing is Richard made a bad decision to sell these drinks to another liquor store. He thought he was helping his brother's company out. In fact, he shouldn't have done it. He no longer is with the company. He's getting to the point where he's not making rational decisions. He is no longer there. His brother is not there. It is Ms. Pfeiffer, who is 60% owner. I'm the next highest stockholder. All Richard does is hold stock in the company now. We make all decisions now. We understand that some of the actions they've had in the past have put us in bad light. We're trying to change that around. I promise you, you won't see us in here again while we're under our watch. But before, I was just an employee doing what I was told to do. Make them up, take them and deliver. And that's exactly what I did. I took them down and I delivered them to where he told me to, because he said the growler license allowed us to sell the growlers. The gentleman to the left or right explained to me that there was a big difference. I did not know that. When Richard told me that growler and crowler were under the same license, I believed him. I believed him for what he said. So that I apologize. I'm not denying that we didn't do what he said we did, but I'm kind of denying the fact that they're making it sound like we aren't allowed to sell these drinks to go, when in fact we are allowed to sell them to go. We've been approved. The liquor board told me I can sell them in this container right here to go all day long as they buy food, and I don't sell an abundance to one person. Like a person buys a dinner, I can sell them one to go. 2 people buy a dinner, I can sell them 2 to go. I can't sell 6 or 7 of them. So we've learned all our rules, and now we're just selling 1 or 2 a day to whoever happens to come over from dinner time and wants to take one home with them. That's about it. We know we messed up. We're just trying to fix what's been done in the past.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Just a couple questions I have here for you. So the growler and crowler, you didn't have any knowledge with regard to either one, is that
We
correct?
have a growler license.
Right, you do.
We thought growler covered crowler.
Okay.
And we thought because you were allowed to sell a drink to go, like you can sell it in a
Right.
regular plastic cup. We figured a sealed container was a much safer and more hygienic option than a cup to go. So we put ours in a sealed container.
Okay.
We didn't think it would be any different.
And how long you've been doing that? Just doing crowlers or growlers?
Year,
Pre-COVID?
2 years, probably right around COVID. Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a while.
And how'd you make the connection on the Eastern Shore?
But so Richard Pfeiffer, who is one of the owners, her son, owns Pfeiffer Seafood. His brother owns the drink company who he was saying they have another case against, the drink company.
Okay.
The brother was selling his canned crushes to them. When they went out of stock, I guess the guy called up there and was like, do you have the crushes? And they were like, oh yeah, we have the fresh homemade ones. And then that's, I guess, how I can't speak for what they were thinking.
Okay.
That's the only assumption I can make. And I was told to, they made them up and I was told to take them and drop them off to them. And at that point, I was not a stockholder. I was just an employee.
Okay. No more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
Yes, I just have only one question. In reference to the proof of the alcohol, were you measuring that at all? How were you measuring it? The agency stated that it was at 15.7% of alcohol.
About 7.5%.
It's 15 proof.
15
17
proof,
proof.
7.5%.
It was hand mixed.
7.7.
Okay,
Yeah. So how are we measuring them?
yes,
We had just a line on the can that we knew that when you filled this, the first item you filled to this level, the second item you filled to this level, that way we knew they would all be roughly in the same area.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that they're definitely not as strong as a bartender would make.
Okay.
Just because we all know bartenders pour heavy thinking they're going to get tipped heavier. So they definitely were not as, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they definitely were lighter than a regular alcohol beverage.
Okay.
Commissioner Stoops?
Are there other retailers that are carrying the crowlers now?
Carrying crowlers or selling drinks to go?
No, selling Pfeiffer's crowlers.
Oh, no,
There's not.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't even, we took a dump on $5,000 worth of cans. We don't even we don't use the cans for anything until we were getting through this, and then we'll try to figure out the appropriate stage to get the growlers for our beer sales back.
And there were no other distributed throughout to any other retailers
No,
prior to?
other than
Yes.
the other company with their legal 6-pack ones.
Okay.
But no, yeah, these were just vapor.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? No. All right, Mr. Smith, Ms. Pfeiffer, anything you want to add?
No, just other than, like I said, we know what the problem's been in the past. I'm not gonna rehash that, but they're not here anymore. It's me and her. I mean, we've went in and in just the last few months, we've got the bill situation straightened up. I mean, we're not, just everything that has been done in the past that has put us in bad light, we are on a page to fix. And we're just hoping that after tonight, accept the fine or whatever punishment you have, and that we can just continue moving forward with our new business and our new outlook on business. Yeah, it just got signed over by the lawyer. Nothing's got turned in yet. We're also going to be putting me on the liquor license too.
So I'm not sure I follow. You're gonna be,
We're going to be switching. We're going to be taking Richard. Yeah, we're going to transfer so that it's me and Kathy, because we're the ones that are in the building, and we wouldn't be the ones responsible for anything that happens to the business. not have to worry about somebody else making a decision that puts us in a bad situation like this again.
Okay.
Yeah, but my understanding, Mr. Chairman, is that nothing's been submitted to the board as of yet.
It hasn't. So.
Okay, where are we? We got it? Yeah. I think you summed it up pretty well with regard to the complexity of this case. Anyway, it is complex, but I'm going to make a few points with regard to the number of times you've been here, Mr. Smith. And it's probably one of our key attendees, if you will.
I've only been here twice.
Well,
This is my second time.
let's just say within the Piper organization, has been here often. A number of stings, an alteration, and then obviously we have this issue here. And I'm going to ask you, do you know Buddy Marshall?
I do.
Okay, he's been your liquor inspector for the past several years.
Yes.
And he's a good resource with regard to if you want to make any changes. Apparently, there have been a number of changes that you've made, alterations, without the authority to do that from the liquor board. You've also were selling crowlers illegally. I mean, what I would recommend moving forward that you use him as a resource. So if you're going to change something or make something different, that you call us. We're there as a resource
Can
to
I
help you.
respond on that? I
And-
totally agree with you, but once again, that wasn't me making these calls. I was just fixing the mess.
Okay.
Like when they made the call to do, you think you're talking about the alterations? I was the one who went and got all the licensing done after he told I got the building, I got everything stopped, and I went and did all the things that had to be done to do it right. So now, moving forward, everything will be done that
Okay.
way. But before it was, I was either tell my boss he's wrong and lose my job and not have a way to support my family, or do what he tells me to do and then hope I can fix it later. He's not there anymore. Like, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying, but like I said, you won't see that from us anymore.
Okay.
And I apologize for that.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to the board for any, their thoughts and how we could move forward. So if you have any thoughts, let me know before we move on a fine or anything like that. Thank you. Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it looks like it's back to you.
Back to me. Well, Well, in light of your comments, in light of everything we've heard here today, I'm going to go ahead and impose a fine. And that fine will be $1,000. And I will ask for a second.
For clarification, Mr. Chairman, is that a fine of $1,000 per count or?
No, just total.
Just total?
All encompassing,
All encompassing.
plus court costs.
Yeah.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
It is seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Court cost us $300. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, calling our next case. Arundel Mills Wine and Spirit. Rajni Spirit LLC. Abdul Fattah M. Sheikh, member. Hardik D. Patel, member. Rajnikant I. Patel, member. Inspector Franklin Faulkner III. No
Counsel,
restrictions.
Will you waive reading? Waive reading? Would you waive the reading of the case? Okay, great.
Thank
Thanks. No problem.
All those wishing to testify, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
For the applicant, Talkin & O, 5100 Dorsey Hall Drive, Ellicott City, Maryland.
I, Hardik Patel, 2336 Calvin Circle, Ellicott City, Maryland, and I am the member.
Radhikan Patel, 103 and North Charter Road, Glenburnie.
Abdul Fattah Muhammad Sheikh, 1815 Severn Hills Lane, Severn, Maryland, 21144.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. DiCarlo, you are, you now have the floor to present your client's case to the board. You can do so by way of proper testimony or combination of both. We'll turn it over to you, okay?
Yep. Thank you. And good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for taking the time tonight to listen to this case. This is a transfer application for Arundel Mills Wine and Spirits. I have the 3 members of the business that are going to be running and operating the store to my left. All of them filled out the application material that was provided to this board, and they filled that out truthfully and honestly. I would proffer to you that they would all testify that they are owners and authorized members of the business, that they filled out the application, the transfer application license truthfully and honestly. They've never been convicted of a felony. The 2 primary owners to my left, Hardik and Raj Nakant, have never held a liquor license before. Our resident agent, who is Mr. Muhammad Sheikh, he is actually the current resident agent of the current licensee right now. He will be staying on with this new company in order for consistency's purposes. So he has held a license. He's the current licensee holder. They do not have a pecuniary interest in any other alcoholic beverage license, except for Mr. Sheikh now currently has that in that current company, which will be ceasing. The hours of operation are going to be staying the same. They will be using a POS system to check all IDs. Mr. Hardik and Raj Nakant plan on being at the store full-time. This will be their full-time employment. They'll be there to oversee the store and operate the store. They plan to have a total of 6 employees. Both of them are alcohol awareness certified, as well as Mr. Mohammed Sheikh is alcohol awareness certified, and they plan to make all of their employees become alcohol awareness certified as part of the training program they will do. They also plan to use a POS system to card, make sure that there are no minors served. We have sat down and reviewed the regulations and the prohibited practices of this body to make sure that they will comply with all the rules and regulations, and they have voiced to me that they do understand those rules. They also have indicated that they will not have a distiller, wholesaler, manufacturer have any interest in this license now or in the future. Mr. Muhammad Sheikh is a resident of Anne Arundel County, so he satisfies the resident agent requirement as well. I understand that the current licensee did have some violations over the summer, and I think that they were before you actually in September and maybe August of this past year. Mr. Hardik and Mr. Rajnikant are coming in. The idea is taking over from that current owner and improving the compliance with the store. And both of them do have experience. They've worked in alcoholic beverage stores prior. They've never had any violations, either of them. Mr. Hardik worked at Chadwick Liquors for 2 years. It's in Baltimore County. And Mr. Rajnikant had worked at Chesapeake Liquors, and he never had any violations there. So not only are they fit and proper applicants for this license, but they also plan to bring the current license, the transfer license. They're going to have this location, I think, better compliance and be able to affirm that they'll be able to follow all the rules. That would be my proffer. They're here to answer any questions if the board members do have any questions of them, and I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. DiCarlo. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
Yes, do you have a time frame in reference to your alcohol training? Within a certain amount of days, 30 days, 60 days?
I believe, and I don't want to speak for my client, but I believe they want to have all their employees trained within 30 days would be the goal.
30 days? Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions? All right, Mr. DiCarlo, anything you want to add?
That be all, other than that, my applicants are fit and proper people for this license, and we respectfully ask that you approve it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Well, make a comment. The summer was not good for this store, no question about it. So hopefully we will not see you either in the near future or the far future. And I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we grant the transfer, and I ask for a second.
I second the motion.
The motion is seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's carried. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling our next case, Irish Pub Next Door, Bar Next Door LLC, Angelica Benjamin, Managing Member, Inspector Scott Montaigne. License is not restricted. This is a transfer. Currently, Angelica Benjamin, owner on behalf of Victory Lounge, located at 4584 Mountain Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122. This is a Class D beer, wine, and liquor with dancing and Sunday license. Please remain standing if you are going to be testifying.
Mr. Bittner, yeah, why don't you just pop over here?
And please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Richard Bittner, 7 Central Avenue, Glen Burnie, 21061.
Nicholas Ketterer, 116 Defense Highway, number 300, Annapolis, Maryland, 21610, 21010. Here on behalf of the applicant, Bar Next Door, LLC, and Angelica Benjamin. I do not know if we want to have there's one preliminary matter. I don't know if we want to just handle that now.
No, Mr. Kenner, the way that we're going to do this, we're going to let you present your client's case for the transfer, and then we'll have the board ask any questions. Mr. Bittner, I understand, is opposing the transfer. The board has received 2 filings from Mr. Bittner. The first was dated November 2nd, 2021. The second dated December 16th, 2021. And then there was a follow-up email or letter, I believe, November 8th, 2022. All of those will become part of the record in this case. These are affidavits in support of a claim against the license. So what we'll do, Mr. Kettner, we'll let you present your case. The board can ask questions, then we'll let Mr. Bittner present his claim. Of course, Mr. Bittner has the opportunity to ask the prospective licensee any questions as well. Okay?
And could anybody else who may be testifying today state their name and address for the record, please?
My name is Carmen Hernandez.
Address, please.
8410 Balking Avenue, Pasadena, Maryland.
Cynthia Williams at 7858 Red Lion Way, Pasadena, Maryland.
Thank you.
Angelica Benjamin, 737 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, Savannah Farm.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Kettner, we'll allow you to present your client's case for transfer by way of proper testimony or a combination of both. We'll turn it over to you at this point.
Yes, I believe we're making a proffer. This is a license seeking this is a request for a transfer of a Class D Dancing and Sunday license from Victory Lounge to the Bar Next Door. It will be remaining with Angelica Benjamin. I am joined by Angelica Benjamin, her sister-in-law, Carmen Hernandez, and her general manager, Cindy Williams. I prepared a proffer of Ms. Benjamin's testimony and as to her qualifications as a fit and proper person. In addition to her compliance by filing all the required documentation to the board, if called to testify, Ms. Benjamin would testify that she is a naturalized citizen of the United States, having been born in El Salvador and naturalized on December 3rd, 2010 here in Annapolis. I brought several copies of her certificate of naturalization should the board require such. Ms. Benjamin is a resident of Anne Arundel County, residing in Severno Park, and has been a resident here since 1999. The building that Ms. Benjamin's business operates out of, 4584 Mountain Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122, is owned by her brother and sister-in-law, Carmen Hernandez. During Ms. Benjamin's operation of the Irish Pub Next Door under the Victory Lounge license, there have been no complaints of any deficiency in the safe operation of the business under the license. The bartenders are all tips certified, and Ms. Benjamin believes that in the responsible consumption of alcohol at her business. Further, Ms. Benjamin has already had this Class D license in her name under the Victory Lounge business for a year. Ms. Benjamin has never been convicted of a felony, has never been adjudicated guilty of violating any laws governing the sale of alcoholic beverages or the prevention of gambling. Her general manager, Cindy Williams, is present, and she is TAM certified. Ms. Benjamin has not had a license beside the one that she currently holds here that is being transferred. She does not have a pecuniary interest in the business, or she does have a pecuniary interest in the conduction of the business under this license. She does not have a pecuniary interest in any other place of business in the county for which a license has been applied for. No person besides applicant is in any way interested in the license applied for or the business to be conducted. Miss Benjamin has already been operating with this license and has not had any issues, any complaints from the surrounding community regarding her operation of the Irish Pub Next Door or the previous Victory Lounge. No noise complaints, no complaints regarding the liquor license or anything else. Ms. Benjamin is here and is ready to supplement this proffer should the board have any questions of her, though she may need her sister-in-law's assistance as English is not her first language. And that is the proffer.
Okay, let's see if the board has any questions. Mr. Chairman, any questions just based on Mr.
What do you say?
Ketter's
Yes,
presentation?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No, just a comment in reference to her honor of being a victor honor, and all employees tip trained. I just want to comment you on that in reference to congratulations on having certified individuals.
Thank you. Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Bittner, do you have any questions at this point? And obviously, sir, I'll let you present your claim afterwards.
I don't have any questions, no.
Okay. All right. Well then, I understand you're here opposing the transfer and you wish to be heard on your claim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Praley, Chairman, members of the board. Certainly, the board is aware of my involvement in this matter, bringing it to this point and having Ms. Benjamin, as council noted, operating for the last year. Unfortunately, regrettably, after 40 years of practice, I'm here presenting my claim as a bona fide creditor for the first time for payment of my legal services that I performed at Ms. Benjamin's request to maintain the license, get the license in her name. There's been no repudiation, denial of that claim. And I believe, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's absolutely appropriate that you hold the hearing if the applicants meet the bona fides in every other way. The license would be approved subject to meeting all legal requirements, including satisfaction of this claim. I believe the rule and the statute are quite clear that the license cannot be transferred until the claim is resolved. So the claim has been duly docketed, and it remains bona fide, submitted under affidavit per the rule and the statute. The claim was incurred as a direct result of the sale of alcoholic beverages. There were 2 sales of alcoholic beverages. All of the services provided were intrinsic, part and parcel of allowing that to happen so that the license could maintain its viability and ultimately be transferred into Ms. Benjamin, and then here today, hopefully, to her LLC. So my claim is $23,130. And that would be my testimony.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bittner. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
You be a little more specific on the 2 sale you're talking about?
Yes, so specifically on, if I may, just October the 31st of 2019, and then again on October the 30th of 2020. As the board may recall, Victory Lounge, the original licensees of Victory Lounge, passed away. That building was purchased. Part of the sale included a transfer of the liquor license, Class D liquor license. I held the power of attorney for Victory Lounge for the benefit of Miss Benjamin, and to maintain, while they were undergoing renovations and trying to get open, they had to have a sale and be open at least for one sale one time a year. So I undertook, by virtue of my delegation as power of attorney, I contacted distributor, and the board has all these records. They were all filed. We litigated this matter once before. And we had a sale to the public on the 31st of October 2019, and then again on October the 30th of 2020 to maintain the license active.
No other questions.
Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions for Mr. Bittner based on his claim filed?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Mr. Ketter, do you have any questions of Mr. Bittner?
I have no questions of Mr. Bittner. I don't have any reason to doubt his claims. However, I would defer to the board on whether they need to be resolved today in order to go forward with the transfer.
Sure, understood, thank you. At this time, I think, Mr. Chairman, it would be appropriate to make a ruling on Mr. Bittner's claim before proceeding forward with the transfer of the license.
Yeah, I would think that the claim is outside our scope, and I don't believe the transfer should be held up because of it. So that is our ruling, and we can proceed.
Okay. All right, well, Mr.
May I inquire? So, just so I'm clear for purposes of any
Sure.
appeal issue, and I agree that the hearing would continue, and just like any normal transfer hearing, a license cannot assume the bona fides are met of the applicant. The applicant has presented the necessary documentation regarding their business entity, etc. They're fit and proper persons. The license can be transferred subject to them meeting all legal requirements that the health department, zoning, workers' comp, etc., etc., is then renamed in the transferee's name, retitled. My claim, I believe, under the code and the clear language of the code and the clear language of your own rule, places me in that same stead. A bona fide creditor, any creditor, would be in that same stead. So the license could not, in effect, be picked up until all other requirements have been met, which would include satisfying my claim. I believe you're correct, Mr. Chairman, that you don't have to get into litigating the amount. That's for a court or another day or mediation or whatever. But as long as the claim has been properly filed, which it has, under affidavit, and there's been no denial of the claim, there's been no dispute raised, no filings made, and even in the prima facie case of the applicants, not one word spoken that the claim wasn't valid or proper. So I don't believe, but I want to make sure I'm clear on what the board's ruling is that the board can just decide the claim doesn't have to be paid. I think that's beyond your scope.
Right, and I don't want to speak for the chairman here, but I do believe that 11-1702 states that it is the board's not bound by subsection A, which regards all obligations being paid, unless the claim involves an indebtedness incurred through the purchase or sale of alcoholic beverages in connection with the licensed premises. And I don't want to speak for the board, but my understanding is that is that what you're relying on, Mr. Chairman?
Pretty much, that is correct.
So, and Mr. Bittner, I think that it could be appropriate to file a claim in the district court, and if that is adjudicated or affidavit judgment is entered, that then could be submitted to the liquor board and may place you in that same position. But for tonight's purposes, my understanding is that the board is finding that your claim doesn't meet the 11-1702 requirements, and as such, the board's not bound to issue a de facto lien against the license.
So there's a finding of fact that the services weren't in conjunction with the sale.
That's correct. I'll allow the chairman to place that on the record, but that's my understanding.
Okay. Even though the board's made a contrary ruling in previous hearings that, in fact, there were
Different
two
hearing.
sales.
It's a different hearing tonight,
Okay.
and
All right.
if you want to appeal it, I completely understand, Mr.
Yeah, well,
Bittner.
That's, yeah, sure. We'll look for the written decision, but we'll create some new law here, maybe.
Okay, maybe.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Well, with that, we will turn it over to the board for a decision on the transfer.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the transfer, and I ask for a second.
I second the motion.
The motion is seconded. Those in favor say aye.
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 Motion is carried. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you all. Want me to just stay up? I think I have the next case.
Okay, great. I think there might be too many on.
There we go. All right, calling the next case. We have Don Pancho Mexican Grill. Don Pancho Mexican Grill LLC, Jessica Hernandez, managing member. Inspector Scott Montaigne. This is for a new license to be located at 2412.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Bittner.
you. All right, if you could remain standing. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Jessica Hernandez, 307 Mary Lou Avenue, Glen Burnie, 21060.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Richard Bittner, B-I-T-T-N-E-R, and I'm representing Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bittner. We'll turn it over to you. You can present your client's case by way of proper testimony or a combination of both.
Thank you very much. It gives me great pleasure to present to you, members of the board, Jessica Hernandez, and seated in the front row in the middle is her husband, Ulysses. Husband and wife team that have been in the hospitality industry for a combined close to 40 years. The applicant, Ms. Hernandez, got her start in kitchens, working as a waitress, prep, most recently at the Blue Dolphin in Crofton, where she acted as a server. So she has a great deal of experience in the hospitality industry, great deal of experience recognizing underage persons. She knows how to card underage patrons. Her husband, who is not going on the license, is not an investor in the license, it's our intent that he would be the cook. He's the family's cook. He started in the Ram's Head as a dishwasher, worked his way up to a sous chef. When they met and got married, they continued an independent business with food trucks, Mexican style, Central American style cuisine, with food trucks mostly in northern Anne Arundel County in the Pasadena area. And that's what brings them before you all here this evening. This is an application for a Class H restaurant at the old Lista's location, 2412 Mountain Road, intersection of Mountain Road and Catherine Avenue. The board certainly may recall that Lista's was a Southwestern style fare that existed at that location for about 30 years. It was well supported by the community. In fact, it was the only sit-down Mexican-esque, if you want, style cuisine in the Pasadena area. Unfortunately, as I understand from the landlord, COVID and both the call of retirement led Lista's to close. I've submitted, and I'll move into evidence, if I may, a letter from Ms. Jung, the landlord, outlining some of her efforts to replace Listas with a Mexican style type food. So it was really a perfect rainbow, if you would, because Listas became available. Ms. Hernandez had been working and serving from the food truck for about 8 years. They had a set date at the Brumwell's flea market every Sunday. So what happened over time, patrons came up, wow, this is great food, you ought to open a restaurant. Yeah, we're thinking about it. Oh yeah, this is great food, I hope you open a restaurant close by. Can I get a beer with this? No, we don't have that. And so that went on, it went on, it went on. They live in the community. They saw that Listas was vacant. They got in contact with the landlord was looking for them. And so they're here applying for what in fact is a new age license. Ms. Hernandez meets all the requirements, and I'll move in her application and all of the supporting documents at this time. She suffered no disqualifying, no convictions of any type. She has the sole financial interest in the business. She's already TIPS-TAM certified. She intends to have extensive classes regarding this for any servers. She understands that all servers have to be at least 18 and have to get alcoholic beverages from a bartender who's 21. So these are persons, particularly Ms. Hernandez, who will be the person that the board looks to, who are responsible, who've got extensive experience. The menu is not yet finalized, but Ms. Hernandez, if I can pass one up, just to, if the board would care to peruse, and you'll see that their food is a little bit different than what currently exists in the county. And as I reiterate, there's nothing within 3 miles a sit-down restaurant that we could ascertain serving alcoholic beverages and anywhere close to this type of fare. With this type of fare, you'll note it's all fresh made, homemade. It's kind of like if you were getting served from grandma's kitchen. It's the way it's been described to me. It's heavy on fare from Mexico City. All Mexican food is not homogeneous. It's like American food. It's different in each region, each area, and they intend to take advantage of what they grew up in and what their experience is the cuisine primarily of Mexico City, which has a unique service in birria. Maybe you say correcto, birria. Yeah. That is the Mexican brisket. So they feature that. They have a whole section of that. They're going to be heavy with ceviches and a Mexican version of pupusas. So they offer a unique fare. Again, nothing close by. They are asking for the privileges where the same privileges existed without any disruption to the community for some 30 years. No entertainment requested. They do not, as yet, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, have the exact number of seats that'll be in the restaurant. The floor plan has not changed from Listas. There's a small 6-seat bar that existed, again, in Listas. They're going to maintain that. They're waiting for the final word on exactly how many tables they can have in each of the areas, but we would expect it would be about 100-person seating capacity. The hours, again, are not yet finalized, so we would ask that the board grant full privileges, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. They don't think they're going to stay open or open that early, but they do envision the possibility that they may stay open, and they're going to see what the customers want. With that, I would like to point out that we have present Gene and Dwayne Price. Mr. and Mrs. Price, if you would just stand for a second. I don't believe they've been sworn. Thank you. And I'll proffer to you that they live in the Pasadena area. They would tell you that they're acquainted with Jessica Hernandez and the service she provides and the food her husband prepares. They partake many times in it, that they are desirous of a sit-down Mexican-type cuisine restaurant serving alcoholic beverages be opened in Pasadena, because there are none to serve the community now. Is that correct? With that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Hernandez is happy to answer any questions. Her husband is here. He's happy to answer any questions about cooking. He's the back of the house. She's the front of the house. She can tell you the business nature. And I'm, of course, happy to answer any of your questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bittner. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy?
I have no question.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions? All right, Mr. Bittner, anything you want to add?
No, I've moved in all the exhibits. I'd ask you to approve the Class H license of beer, wine, liquor Sunday sales for Miss Jessica Hernandez at 2414 Mountain Road.
Mr. Chairman?
I will go ahead then and make that motion that we grant the license. And I look for a second. Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Good luck.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
very
Take care.
much.
Thank you all. Next case is Landmark Theaters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
At least let you get the name out.
If you could all remain standing, and once you're settled, anyone testifying, if you could raise your right hand.
Gentlemen, stand up and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Would you please state your name and addresses for the record?
David Barlow, 1834 North Forest Court, Crofton, Maryland, 21114.
Stephen Cherniak, 750 Lexington Avenue, New York, New York,
Thank you.
10022.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and staff. For the record, you guys can sit down. For the record, my name is Linda Carter. I'm with Carter Law LLC at 11720 Beltsville Drive, Suite 100, Beltsville, Maryland. And it is my pleasure tonight to be before you in connection with an application for an MT license for the use of Landmark Theater at Annapolis Harbor Center. You may remember this was originally a bow tie cinema, and unfortunately for the county, bow tie has left the county, but this particular location is being taken over by people that are very, very good theater operators. If I could, I have an exhibit that I'd like, thanks, Eddie. I'd like to move in as applicant's exhibit number 1, and if the board would allow proffer, I would greatly appreciate it.
That will be accepted, Ms. Carter, and go right ahead with your proffer.
Thank you so much. My clients, through us, have filed an application for this MT license. I would proffer and represent to the board that all information contained in that application is still true and accurate as we appear before you today. In addition to one of the applicants, Stephen Cherniak, I have with me David Barlow, who is the manager of this particular location. And I started by saying that the county should be happy that Landmark is here, and David is actually a prime example of what Landmark does very well. David has been with Landmark Cinemas for 13 years. I know him, or know of him, because the first license that I got for Landmark in Maryland was for Bethesda Row, where David was the manager. And I am happy to report to this board that Montgomery County's Landmark Theater never had a violation, and hasn't to this day. But that's in large part due to this man and their corporate attitude towards responsible alcohol service. Nationwide, Landmark operates more than 30 theaters that have alcoholic beverage licenses, most of which, by the way, are beer, wine, and liquor. They've had these licenses going back as far as 2009. They have never had a violation at any location. That's a pretty phenomenal record. And the reason is they take the privilege of selling alcohol very, very seriously. They have hired the manager, the bar manager, if you will, that was at Bowtie in Annapolis. And he will be one of two people that are primarily going to run the bar portion of this operation, David being the other person. My clients, we have gone through the law very clearly. Both David and Stephen and our resident licensee, who we asked to be excused tonight, are all acutely aware of the fact that they cannot sell alcohol before 4 or after 12 midnight. They can only sell one drink at a time. Their policy will be in a clear glass. Every person who orders an alcoholic beverage will be carded. They are not going to accept vertical IDs. They know that they can only sell alcohol to somebody who is a ticketed patron. And they know that they cannot sell more than 2 drinks to any individual. The MT law, I'll be honest with you, disappoints me because I like the fact that this board recognized that theaters could operate successfully with a regular beer, wine, and liquor license, and Bowtie did that in Annapolis. But I understand the legislature's concern in wanting a test, if you will, and the MT allows that. We would respectfully suggest that that my clients understand the laws and the rules imposed by the state and the board, and that there are going to be no violations. Now, a little bit more about the theater. This theater has 9 auditoriums, all reclining, those state-of-the-art comfortable chairs that make you want to sleep, with the auditoriums having anywhere between 47 seats and 113 seats. David is there at least 40 hours a week. In fact, when we were talking, I asked him if he has a cot, and he says, well, sometimes he goes into the party room because he needs to sleep. The theater ordinarily operates from 12:30 to 8 o'clock. Obviously, the 8 o'clock movies sometimes run over, and there are movies that actually run past midnight, but they know that all sales have to stop at 12. They also know that they cannot allow customers to remove any open container from the theaters or from the property of the theater, if you will, the building of the theater. And they will have somebody making sure and monitoring so that doesn't happen. And Mr. Chairman and members of the board, that would be our synopsis case.
Thank you, Ms.
I
Carter.
can spend another 30 or 40 minutes if you want, but
We're all freezing here.
Yeah.
I know, I need gloves.
But anyway, I do have some questions. How does it work? You have a separate bar from the food section. You'll have a bartender there, and he'll be basically selling drinks singly?
Selling only drinks singly.
Single.
Just beer
Okay.
and wine, that's it.
Okay, it's not somebody getting 2 beers and going
Nope.
into the... How has your experience been in some of the other theaters that you have?
Will you an answer for Bethesda?
Excuse me. Overall, it's been very positive. I also worked at our location in Washington, D.C., where we had similar restrictions in terms of a single beverage per person. And while at times, people question that, obviously, we certainly have experience enforcing those rules.
Okay. Are you selling more drinks than popcorn, by any chance?
At the locations that have alcohol service?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Probably.
It's a close tie.
But here it's going to be a minimum or a maximum of 2 drinks. And how are you
Correct.
And how are you going to police that? Just
Since we're only going to have one person serving alcohol at a time, we're going to be relying on, and someone who's well-trained, we're going to be relying on them to make sure that the customers are not being overserved.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Duffy? Commissioner Snoops? Ms. Carter, anything you want to add?
No, we would respectfully request that the MT license be issued without any restrictions other than those that are imposed by law, which are numerous.
Exactly. I'll make a motion that we grant the license, and I look for a second. The motion is seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion is carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very
When,
much.
when do you
Y'all have a
think
great
that's
and
going
safe
into
evening.
effect? Soon?
I beg
Yes.
your pardon? How soon?
As soon as we get the license, we're
Okay.
gonna start rolling.
We've got all of our other licenses in place with the exception of the use and occupancy permit. Planning and zoning is telling us that they don't want to issue a license to the entity that hold, a use and occupancy permit to the entity that holds an alcoholic beverage license. They only want to issue it to the theater as a whole. So we're kind of, the cat's chasing the tail, and we are trying to get that resolved. So as soon as that's resolved, you can order your beer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a great and safe evening.
Take care.
All right, thank you. Our next case is for Senor Chili Cafe, Senor Chili Cafe LLC, Thomas
Chili
J.
Cafe.
Hi, Kinley Bry.
Is that so appropriate?
on behalf of
Chili
the applicant.
Cafe, anybody get the drift there? I'm somewhat losing
It's
it here.
appropriate tonight.
Come on.
It's appropriate tonight.
Ms. Bray, are you okay with waiving the
Yes,
reading?
I am.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
great,
President.
thanks.
Thank you. If you would remain standing, those of you who are going to be testifying, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Harry Solmran from 1886 Severn Grove Drive, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thomas Mulrennan, 413 3rd Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
I'm Kinley Bray with the law firm of Yumkas, Vidmar, Sweeney, and Mulrennan, 185 Admiral Cochrane Drive, Suite 130, Annapolis.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bray. We'll turn it over to you. You can present your client's case by way of proper testimony or combination of both.
Thank you very much. So with me is Harry Joe Salmoran and Thomas Mulrennan, members of Senor Chili's Cafe LLC. Mr. Mulrennan is the qualifier, and Mr. Salmoran will be managing the restaurant. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking the staff for their assistance as we put together this application. They were extremely helpful, and it's my pleasure to be before you tonight because I've spent 6 years working in the same building with the Board of License Commissioners when I was with the Anne Arundel County Office of Law. So I've saw you lots of times in the elevator, but never had a chance to work together. So it's great to be here tonight. Thank you so much. With the board's permission, I'll proffer the case and note that Mr. Mulrennan and Mr. Salmoran are available to answer any questions as are necessary. Senor Chili's Cafe will be a restaurant located in a neighborhood shopping center at 594 Benfield Road, Severna Park. It is the former location of Rivera's Tex-Mex restaurant. It is approximately 1,200 square feet, commercially zoned property, includes a total of 28 indoor seats plus 5 bar seats and 5 outdoor tables seating 10. Mr. Mulrennan, as I mentioned, will be the license holder. He is a member of Senor Chili Cafe LLC. There are no disqualifying characteristics for him as a license holder, and he is a 39-year resident of Anne Arundel County and an attorney. Mr. Salmoran is a 19-year resident of Anne Arundel County who will operate the restaurant and likewise has no disqualifying qualifications. He has completed the requisite alcohol awareness training, and he quite literally grew up in the restaurant industry. This will be his first restaurant management, but he can speak to his experience as well. This is a new Class H license with music, dancing, and Sunday sales. The entertainment component will be televisions installed on the premises that will operate during regular business hours, and there will be occasional live music and dancing in the area where the seating is currently shown, perhaps 1 to 2 times per month during regular business hours. The area of dancing is more than 100 feet away from residentially zoned property. The entrance to the cafe is approximately 156 feet away from the nearest residentially zoned property. As I mentioned, all entertainment will take place during regular business hours. All servers will be tips trained. No staff will serve alcohol to anyone without checking for identification. No staff will serve alcohol to a customer appearing to be inebriated in any way. The targeted opening date is November 28th or perhaps December 5th, depending on permitting. And we have a menu to share, as I mentioned, which I'll offer to the board. Thank you. the fare will be Mexican cuisine. I know you'll notice that almost a third of the menu is birria, which is amazing if you're not familiar. And I'm really excited about this particular restaurant coming to Severna Park. With that, I will simply move that all of the paperwork that was submitted with the application is true and accurate, remains true and accurate today. And if you have any questions, Mr. Mulrennan and Mr. Salmoran are available to answer them.
All right, thanks, Ms. Bray. Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
Yes, I just have one question. In reference to your tip training, is there a set number of days that you would have tip training for all employees?
Yeah, so our employees would be required to be tip certified before they even start working with us.
Oh, before they
Yeah,
start working?
before they start working at the restaurant.
Okay, that's fine with me. Very good.
Anything else, Commissioner Duffy?
Nothing else.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions? All right, Ms. Bray, anything you want to add?
No, thank you very much. Again, thank you to the staff and to the commissioners tonight for your time.
Thank you.
Great.
Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for those comments. We'll go ahead and make a motion that we grant the license, and I look for a second.
I second the motion to grant the license.
A motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those motions carried.
Thank you very
Congratulations.
much.
That's it.
That's it.
The hearing is now adjourned.